Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fear Assembly. I'm Cole Harper, and joining me today is Cody Leach, as well as Bryan Starr. And we're going to talk about, obviously, our favorite horror films and everything that's coming out soon, and a number of interesting topics. So first, Cody, Bryan, how are you guys doing?
It's been a busy summer. We were talking about it right before we clicked record. It's just summer.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, summer was like, oh, vacation. And as an adult, it's just like, can we get to fall?
Yeah. 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 Right before I needed to edit something so that I could post it today, I took my kid like 30 minutes one way to like be with her cousins. But, that's an hour of my day that I like could, so it's all just like chaos, but we're here. We made it.
All right. And to that point, when you guys are like, okay, we're gonna go to the theater, how far away is your local theater? And do you leave early or do you just get there like right as it's starting up? What's usually your strategy there?
Mine's about 20 minutes away, roughly, give or take 5 minutes, depending on what time of day and traffic, but it's not too far. My local theater starts their movies 15 minutes after the posted time on the dot. So I've kind of developed a practice over the last number of years of not watching too many trailers, especially horror films. And so I tend to try to get there like right in those last couple of minutes because usually they're doing the flashback cinema, like the older movies we're going to play, and then it just gets right to the movie. So I aim to get
Nice.
there about that time. The only times I won't is if something like Toy Story comes out and I'm like, okay, you can add an extra 15 minutes of standing in line for a drink. So
Yeah.
better get there early.
Yeah, yeah. Mine's 10. I'm lucky to be, and it's literally my favorite theater in the entire city, which is nice. But I was so ingrained at arriving 40 minutes early with my dad that I still, even though I know, it's going to be 20 minutes of trailers, I still get there before the movie starts, to get in line to get snacks, and then I'm sitting there watching ads and trailers and everything. So I've still not learned the 20 plus minutes that I could just take my time getting to the theater, but
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
Isn't it amazing how long we did that dumbass practice of like you buy a movie ticket and you have to get there an hour early for an average movie, 2 hours early for a big event film to maybe
Yeah.
get a decent seat. And then that long transitional period. I don't know about you guys, but like when they started doing the assigned seats, I was like, thank God, what the hell? Why did it take this long? And then for like 5 to 7 years, I would almost always hear at least one person bitching, like, why can't I pick it when I get in there? And I'm like, what is the issue? What are you complaining about?
Yeah.
Well, there are still some theaters, by the way, that are just first come first serve open seating, and I had that experience recently when my wife took me to the Spielberg movie Disclosure Day, and I was like, "Are you sure it's first come first serve?" And it's an IMAX, as well, And sure enough, we get there. We ended up it worked out because we were still in like row 5 or 6. We weren't in row 1, like I ended up in back in the day to watch Blair Witch Project and had neck pain at the end of it with shaky cam and everything else.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, to your point, I personally love the assigned seating, and also gives you a sense of when you're buying tickets, is this thing gonna sell out? Do I need to get my tickets right now?
Yep.
Can I get middle, center row, whatever? Um, but yeah, I think and for me, by the way, I'm about 10 minutes away from my local theater, so I'm the same. I like to get there a little bit early, just out of practice. But yeah, sitting through all the trailers and the ads and the 10 reminders to turn off your phone, just it gets a little bit much. Um, so let's hit on a topic that I know we were discussing as well right before we started taping as well. So there was an announcement, especially on I think it was Sony devices and people in the UK. A lot of digital purchases that people have been making across platforms are going to be revoked. I believe it starts in September, October. And so people have started talking more about, okay, I guess physical media is back in. I don't know what this means. I thought I bought this thing on iTunes or wherever it was. But Bryan, I'm going to hand it to you first because I know you're the physical media expert here. So take us through this. Like, what's happening? What does this mean?
Yeah. It's funny, like it's something that I have known about for quite a while in terms of if you buy something digitally, it's never yours. And that's something that every now and then I will touch on throughout this entire time that I've been online as an online presence or whatever. But it's like clockwork. Every time this is brought up, people start to panic, and I'm just, sitting by my wall of movies and just kind of not like I never prey on anyone's downfall or anything, but I by all means, like, I live in a world of I told you so and have been telling you so since day one. And yeah, and I collected my entire collection. Well, not the entire collection, but I'd say like 80% of my collection was hand-me-down DVDs that I purchased either on Facebook Marketplace or rental stores that were closing down. And so this was never a thing of like of it being difficult to collect. It's just, I think, just like laziness got in the way of people just being like, well, I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to get up and put the disc in. I've heard people complain about that. And so like there's this like kind of like laziness that is turned these people onto buying these movies digitally for way too much money. I don't understand why you would want to buy something that you can't hold physically, but whatever, that's another argument or whatever. But and yeah, now it's gone. And now what I don't know is like how money is involved. Is that gone? Is money just out the window? But yeah, I mean, it's an absolute bummer, but I've never purchased a movie digitally in my entire life. So oh well, I don't know.
Not even by accident. You haven't clicked the wrong button with the
No,
Apple TV. No.
no,
All right.
I've rented one movie digitally my entire life as well.
Mm.
So it's never like been an issue. And the only reason I remember is because it's a movie that my kid wanted to watch that we didn't have, but you better believe I did rent it right then and there so that she could watch it, and then got on eBay and bought it for $4, and now I have it, forever. So yeah, no, zero. I have zero digital library, even digital codes that come with the movies. I don't mess with. I tend to just give those away. So yeah.
Mm. All right.
Commitment.
Yeah. And you know what? It might also be laziness too.
Yeah.
Instead of keeping up with two libraries, I just have to keep up with one.
Yeah, there's no refunds with this. It's part of the terms of service that's baked in that nobody reads, of course. Of as soon as it's not available in that library or that platform anymore, that's it. And if you bought it, here's the date that it goes away. You would think that there at least be some kind of barter or opportunity, to upsell physical media to the 50 million consumers or whoever it is that are affected by this. But
Yeah.
we'll see how that plays out. I mean, Cody, what was your take when you were reading about this development?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with Bryan. I'm a huge physical media guy. I mean, behold. But there's I've dabbled more into the digital stuff than it sounds like Bryan has, but I'm a firm believer, always have been, on like if I like a movie, especially if I love a movie, like it's going on the shelves back here. I've already ran out of room. You see the little stacks right here that I don't have room for. So I'm currently like in the middle of planning out how to build my own to get a little bit more wall space. But there's two things. One is similar to what Bryan was saying. A lot of us that are big physical media people, it's kind of like we're the ones that have the apocalypse bunkers, and it's like, here the bombs are coming. You're not getting in. Sorry, told you. And at the same time, I feel like if you are going to do digital purchases, it was always smart to stick with companies that are not going to go anywhere. The only ones that I've ever purchased are from Amazon or from Apple, which I don't think are in any danger of going anywhere, maybe ever. So buying things on the PlayStation Store or some of these other smaller ones, I wouldn't have ever advised that regardless. But yeah, it's just really scummy, and I think some of it is just people's misunderstanding. People don't realize that you're not doing digital purchases. You're just basically purchasing a license to view it.
Right.
And so they feel like they've been robbed. And it's like, well, to an extent, yes, but you also didn't read the fine print and you don't really know exactly what you're doing. I don't know what it's going to do as far as in the future, how it's going to shake out. Like, does this mean that people are going to suddenly start having a boom with physical media? I kind of doubt it unless it really starts to ramp up, or if one of those companies I talked about starts doing this. But I would like to see something like that. It feels like physical media has kind of been pushing more towards boutique labels and things like that, where it used to be every single thing that came out, you could walk into a Walmart, a Best Buy, or whatever, and get it. And nowadays, that's just not the case. So if you're not like an actual collector who's already established, some of that cool stuff you don't even know exists. I was just doing a video the other day on releases like The Hitcher here that have been out of
Mhm.
print for decades. And it's like, I wonder how many people love that movie, don't even realize that exists because they can't see it on a Walmart shelf. So,
Yeah.
you know, uh, my kids grew up in a weird kind of transition phase where they can click on everything. It's all on Netflix. I have all the streaming services, but they think it's really cool to have all of these too because they can just take it.
Right.
Dad's got it. So it's kind of a dying practice, but I hope it never completely dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to that point, especially for those of us with kids, it's like we think all the Disney movies are just going to be on Disney Plus. They might for a little bit, but they're not going to live there forever, right?
Yeah.
So if your kids like Moana, go buy the Moana physical media stuff, right? And
Hmm.
then go enjoy the live action remake as that comes out with The Rock and everybody very soon here. Um and yeah, I mean sometimes it's just about the convenience, going back, Brian, to what you were saying, where for my wife, if she's buying something, she only wants to buy it in Apple so that all of her purchases are in one
Yeah.
library and then it's synced across devices. But yeah, when you start buying some movies on, your Apple devices and then others on Amazon and others in the Sony PlayStation store, et cetera, it gets pretty complicated to figure out where where something is.
Hmm.
Um, and I do think that there's a huge demand still for people to be buying movies, right?
Hmm.
I've bought many. I have a lot of physical media. My distribution company and studio, we still have a lot of great successful physical media releases, but it is primarily targeting consumers who like to collect and obviously own physical media directly. It's less so getting it into retail stores like your Best Buys and your WalMarts and such, because a lot of that you end up having to kind of estimate the inventory and the sales. And the worst case is you've got, 20 extra copies of something sitting in Arkansas somewhere. And then they're like, okay, we're going to ship it back to you and charge you, $500 on the way back.
Yeah.
So that, I think that's the struggle, but that model is changing too. And where you see high demand, like with Obsession or any of these other great movies that we've been talking about, I think you're going to see a lot more drop ship companies and groups that can print on demand or manufacture more, depending on what, consumers are asking for. And I think that is a behavior that's going to change. You hear Matt Damon and Ben Affleck talk about it a lot,
Mhm.
where the old days of Hollywood, you had your theatrical release and then DVD was like a whole new release again, right? There was
Hmm.
new marketing funds, new commercials. Like now you can buy Jurassic Park at home,
Yeah.
own it, right? And it put the poster back in front of you. And there's just not enough of that now because it has leaned more, into streaming and digital. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how much the preferences shift back to physical media. But there is certainly a market for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's
Um,
there's a lot of different things that people are very vocally annoyed about. I mean, even if you have like Netflix and stuff, people get annoyed about how movies are there one day and they're not the next. I mean, I
mhm,
can tell you as somebody where luckily I'm able to write it all off, but I basically subscribe to every single
Mhm.
streaming service that there is, and it's still staggering how many movies I can't watch. I
Yeah.
mean, I'd say 2 out of every 5 movies I search for, it's like, "Oh, you can watch it on this thing that you pay for every month," and the other 3 are like, "For the low, low price of $20, you can watch it," and I'm like, "Jesus."
yeah. Yeah, no, it's tough. And to your point, I mean, we've worked with people like Francis Ford Coppola that also don't want their movies on these streaming platforms. So it's not necessarily on the streamers to
Mhm,
say, hey, we need to go and acquire and license all these movies in perpetuity. But the other side of it is for most indie films, you think about like found footage horror films, it's
Mhm.
not a guarantee that they're going to end up on Shudder or Netflix or any of these other platforms, right? They need
mhm,
a big distribution effort. They need word of mouth to get out so that the bigger streamers say, yes, like I want this on my platform for the next 3 years, whatever that is. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's why there's platforms out there like Just Watch and many others that tell you where things are. And sometimes those links are incorrect and,
Right.
oh,
and,
yeah,
uh, and they're tricking you to redirect to something else that you got to subscribe to. But yeah, I hardly ever use like Google or something to try to find a movie, so when you
Mhm.
guys talk about something, I'm
Mhm.
able to go to Just Watch or one of my trusted sources and say, "Oh, this is on Amazon Prime. Great. I'm gonna go get it."
Yeah.
mhm,
I would say also there's a shift and physical media for two separate things. One is I just see a lot of Gen Z getting into it, and they're a little bit more focused on DVD just because it's cheaper to find. But I see a lot of the younger generation going out to thrift stores and just coming home with bags of movies, and it's so awesome to see. And I know there's one person in particular, I don't know their username, of course, but they've stopped all streaming platforms, and they've taken the money that they would have spent and put it toward physical media. And I love that. I think that's a great concept. But it seems I'm seeing a shift with the younger generation, and that makes me super excited. But two, and I specifically brought this because this is an illegal version of Barbarian, but it was just announced that Barbarian is finally getting a legitimate physical release. And I will, even though I have this, I will happily put money toward that new release just because, one, it looks beautiful, but two, I really do like this movie. I like what Kreger's doing. It's cool to see that after all of this time, the companies are realizing that, yeah, we should probably put these movies out. Stranger Things, for instance, as well, stopped making physical media after season 2, and now you can get the entire thing coming out pretty soon, actually. It's like you can pre-order it now, but I think it's about to hit shelves pretty soon. So yeah, I think that's awesome. And even VHS coming back every now and then, you see a new release with a VHS copy, and that's a lot of fun.
All right. Fair enough. So what have been some of your more recent purchases as it relates to physical media?
A whole bunch of Spielberg.
Mhm.
Luckily,
Yeah.
I finally put that ranking out yesterday,
Yep.
so I can stop talking about it. But yeah,
That's
I
very cool.
basically bought every movie of his I didn't already own, which was a number of
Mhm.
them. So I've got a number of those, the 4Ks and Blu-rays that were available. Minority Report, Catch Me If You Can just came out not too long ago with the 4K. I bought Color Purple, 1941, a number of those.
Hmm.
I also just got this whole box set that he just came out with, which is actually really nice. This little 4K set that's
Mhm.
got some of his most famous ones, and War of the Worlds. That was the only odd one in here. I like
Yeah.
that movie, but it's not like the classic era like the rest of
Right.
these are.
Right.
So that's a pretty nice little set. And I want to say there was something else cool. Oh, Explorers. Explorers just had a release for I don't remember what the boutique company was, but it was a really cool set. I've always enjoyed that movie.
Hmm.
Nice. Yeah, that
All right.
I really enjoyed that movie. I think I still have that on DVD. I need to upgrade.
That was one
Um,
that I saw on Disney Channel after
oh
I
yeah.
had seen Training Day. And so I was like, is that guy when he was a little kid?
Yeah, that's funny. Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
Mhm.
Neon just had a sale, maybe just last month, and I think it was like buy one get three free. It was something
Mm.
ridiculous, like that didn't make sense. Buy two get three free or something, probably that. And so yeah, I hopped on that for sure, and I just got the email earlier that it's in my mailbox. But I got Presents, which I still haven't seen, but I love
Mm.
Steven Soderbergh, so I had to grab that. Presents, Exit 8, which I actually didn't see either, but I do a lot of blind buys, and I'm very much interested in. I've seen the game play pretty much all the way through, so I know exactly what's happened in the game. So I was like, might as well watch the movie too, and
Mhm.
technically, get it for free. Nirvana the band, the show, the movie,
Mhm.
which I still didn't buy, so now that's coming my way. And I think there's another one, but Hokum, as
Mhm.
well. And is that 4, or did I say all 8? 5. But I think it's something like that.
Yep.
But no, it's funny. I don't buy a lot lately. Half because I get a good chunk of it in the mail
Mhm.
from studios, and I'm super blessed for that. But also I have so many movies, so I'm trying to not pay attention. Like the Criterion sale's happening right now, and I'm really trying
Yeah.
not to go. But I do want the Wes Anderson collection,
Right.
and it's 50% off right now. So I think that's probably going to be my next purchase for my birthday in July. Or
Okay.
hey, it's July 1st, so happy birthday
Now,
to me.
so for our listeners that are thinking, okay, I want to get alerted anytime there's a new physical media release or a collection set, like what do you recommend that people subscribe to just to get alerts aside from obviously subscribing to our channel and hearing us talk about these movies.
I
Yeah.
usually get most of my updates on Twitter. Follow
Mhm.
like Dawn of
Yeah.
the Discs and a few of those other places, or Diabolic DVD, which is a really good online real retailer. Usually when something hot's coming out, they'll all post about it almost in unison. So it's like impossible for me not to see it like that. There was a while there when we really started to have that silent shift away from retailers and Amazon to more boutique labels, where maybe a year or so it felt like I was hearing about all these awesome releases after they're sold out and people are showing them off. And
Mhm.
so I rectified that, and I don't think I've missed any since. Like,
Nice.
they'll let you
Yeah.
know, like, a month before it's even able to be pre-ordered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah. It's following the people that's all they do. I have a few friends, few mutuals that every Tuesday they do a carousel on Instagram, and it's a picture of like, the top 5 releases, but then every time you swipe, it's like 10 releases, because so many companies are still putting out physical media, whether you've heard of it or not. And so some of these people, all they care about are the new releases. And
Mhm.
so it's nice to find them and be reminded and things like that. But sometimes it's my mutuals that like the neon sale. I just happened
Mhm.
to see someone's story and see what they picked up, and so I was free at that moment to just get on my computer and look into it. So
Yeah.
I would say and it's kind of on purpose. I don't actively seek it out, because if I see it, I want it, and that's a problem. Yeah.
Alright.
I know that
Well
problem well.
well, next time you're on the Neon Store, get the unrated or the uncut version of Possessor. That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did
So
I tell that story when we brought that up last time about having to buy it twice? I don't know if I did.
no.
I've
I
told the
heard that
story.
story. Yeah, I heard that.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So I
So
bought the regular one and then got ready
Yeah.
to watch it, and someone's like, "By the way, the yellow one's the unrated one." And I was like, "Fuck!" So I had to wait and buy the other one.
of course, yeah.
Mm.
Nice. Now, do you find appeal in the alternate endings or the extended cuts, director's cuts, bloopers, extras, all the other things that usually come with these DVD packages? Is that enticing to you with movies like Backrooms coming back into theaters? I think with like an extra 30 minutes or something to that extent.
It depends on the movie, really. Like, when I was a
Yeah.
kid, I used to love that stuff on
Yeah.
DVD. Anytime we bought one, I would just watch everything, top to
Hmm.
bottom. Not as much time to do that as much anymore, but, sometimes alternate endings are fun, especially with, like, very specific ones like I Am Legend, where it's like, not only
Hmm.
is it the alternate ending, but now it's apparently the canonical ending, so hope you
Right.
saw it.
Hmm.
Or you movie like Butterfly Effect, where that's like anytime you bring that up in the horror community, there's like truthers for the one
Yeah.
ending and then people for the other one. So those are when it's fun. The documentary stuff can be really interesting whenever you're doing like a video, if you want to deep dive into something and know a little bit more
Yeah.
about the behind the scenes, but it's just more of a time issue nowadays. I wish I had more time to dive into some of those.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the thing. I am on the copy from Umbrella for The Dirties by Matt Johnson. I'm on a
Hmm.
commentary, and I've yet to listen to it. Now, of course, I lived it, but you would think that would have been the first thing I do once I received it. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, yeah, things just get in the way. Whereas back in the day, like, man, some of that was my
Hmm.
film school. And then of course there's the Lord of the Rings extended version that took you 30 hours to get through all the special features.
Oh,
So I still appreciate it, and I appreciate that they keep doing it.
Hmm.
Doesn't necessarily mean that I can watch it now, but maybe later, then that's all I'm doing is finally catching up on all of that stuff. So I really do appreciate it, and I really love behind the scenes stuff. And yeah, like a Backrooms, where I want to know, what does that set look like outside of the camera. And oh yeah, sure enough, it's the set, and I love all that type of stuff as well. But yeah, extended, not every movie needs to be extended, but give me another excuse to see Backrooms. More stuff from Kane Parsons, really, because it's as if he's uploading a new YouTube video, and
Hmm.
I'm here for that for sure. So yeah, it has to be a specific title that gets me into the cash grab of it all. But yeah, unfortunately, this one's taking my money.
All right. Now, before we switch gears, Cody, you were saying before we started recording, video games are moving away from physical discs. Is that right? What's going on there?
Yeah, so we had the pre-order info come out for GTA 6 a week or
Hmm.
so ago, and one of the big things that caused a lot of controversy online wasn't actually even the price, it was the fact that it was just a digital release. And so even the physical releases is going to be a clamshell box with a paper with a code in it. And so
Mm.
people were losing their minds of like, one, that's stupid, and two, like, this is the sign of the end times. And like clockwork, less than a week later, Sony announced today that they're discontinuing disc games for PlayStation titles starting next year. So I don't know if it's like, you know, the games that are in production from January or what. Like, I
Mhm.
guess Resident Evil
Hmm.
Veronica might be the last game you can ever buy for PlayStation. But yeah, so now everybody's kind of like, this is the sign of the end times type of thing, which is interesting because like it's a similar conversation as movies, but also a little bit different. Because as much as I'm a big physical media champion for movies, some of it's just because I don't have the space. I haven't bought a whole lot of physical games.
Hmm.
I actually like the convenience of the digital, where you can just download it
Mhm.
and delete it or whatever. And I like, if I have different PS5s, which I have a couple, if I stop playing it upstairs and I go downstairs, I can
Mhm.
just turn it on and start where I left off on, versus having to take the disc out,
Yeah.
go downstairs and everything like that. So I'm not as upset about that, but it does. There's a part of you that grew up holding cartridges and stuff like that and having a
Yeah.
little nice collection that's just like, well, guess it's going away. I don't know if
Yeah.
Xbox is going to follow suit, or this might even end up being like one of those times where Sony does this or announces it and everybody just loses their minds so loudly that they end up pivoting, because they had something similar to this on the opposite side back when PS4 and Xbox One was coming out, where Xbox was trying to implement like some kind of a thing where when you bought a disc, it like locked it to that system and you had to like pay a
Hmm.
fee to transfer it to GameStop or to give it to a friend. And then PlayStation roasted them. And that was one of the reasons why for that console generation, PlayStation 4 wildly outsold Xbox, because people were so
Mhm.
frustrated about that. So if Xbox plays their cards right, they might be able to do that again, where they're just like, oh, we'll always have discs. And then PlayStation's like,
Hmm.
oh shit, okay, back up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on the video game topic, aside from let's say Resident Evil, which I think most people know is a pretty scary video game, what are some of the scarier games that you've played? Because it seems like you're a gamer,
Mhm.
you know the stuff that's out there. I don't know, Brian, how much you're into the gaming stuff, but what would you say are some of the games that our horror community would appreciate?
Well, of course, the big one is Resident Evil, and there's a whole bunch of different games and different styles you can have with that. There's action ones, there's genuinely scary ones, first person, third person.
Hmm.
Silent Hill has always kind of been like the second in command with that. They're a little bit more psychological horror, a little
Hmm.
scarier, I think, for more people versus more action and gameplay. And so they just had a remake for Silent Hill 2, which is kind of widely considered the best one, about a year ago.
Hmm.
So that's a really good one to pick up. Of course, Last of Us are survival horror type games, which pretty much everybody knows about, either from the show. Those are classics. There's been some pretty good stuff that's more on the action side, like Doom, of course, has been a
Hmm.
mainstay since the 90s. They had a good one not too long ago, but Resident Evil is really the one holding the torch right now. They had Requiem
Yeah.
come out this year that has just killed it. It sold like crazy. And ever since they kind of rejuvenated that franchise with the seventh game, Biohazard, they just hit
Yeah.
over and over
Mm.
and over again,
Yeah.
whether it's a remake or a new game.
Yeah, I don't game as much as I would love to, because I really think it's just a great medium for storytelling
Hmm.
that you just get to be fully immersed into. But and I've talked about this quite a bit to a lot of people, is that I'm really trying to get a PC, because as we all know, I do get scared easily, and I think it would be entertaining to play scary games for everyone's enjoyment. So I would
Yeah.
love to get into that for sure. I will say though that while I'm editing on this monitor here is usually playing Markiplier, playing a game that I know that I probably won't be able to get to. So I've actually watched a lot of horror games because of him, and that's
Mhm.
how I knew about Exit 8, for instance, and all the most recent Resident Evils and everything. And so, what I really like about what I'm seeing in his side of things is that liminal horror, which is why I knew about Iron Lung way before he wanted to make the movie, because he played it ages ago. And so I think there's a really good area for liminal horror, and because of the success of Backrooms, we're just going to keep getting more and more. I think they're already talking about doing a pools version.
Mhm.
And then, there's this isn't a game, but they just put out a trailer for that one that's like set in a mall. That's kind of like Backrooms-esque. And so liminal horror is making a huge push into the space, both video game and movie. And so that's definitely another area that I think people would get a kick out of.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Cody, you hit on this, but yeah, Doom was gonna be the one that I was gonna talk about because
Mhm.
it's the classic and you download it, to your computer and it's
Oh
like you
yeah.
turn a corner, there's a demon, there's this other thing, you're out of ammo and you're just screaming and it's like 2 in the morning, you wake everybody up in the house. So that one, to me will always be kind of a core memory of like a scary game. But the other experiences that I did enjoy and there was just not enough of them were some of the VR
Oh
experiences that
yeah.
you could do. I don't know if you guys got like any of the VR headsets, like the Sony ones where you could hook it up to your phone and that kind of thing and download the games directly. But there were some that were very immersive, very intense. And then you'd start like searching, okay, give me more like zombie VR games and things like that. But
Mhm.
there weren't enough, But those were terrifying because it's literally in your face.
Right.
And there's all these videos on social media of people like jumping into a wall or falling
Oh
through a
yeah.
table in real life, based on something that they're reacting to. Do you remember any of those, Cody?
Yeah, I had the PlayStation VR and the VR2, a couple others too, but the
Mhm.
bringing up Resident Evil Biohazard, this was after 6 came out, and 6 was basically like a Michael Bay movie, and it was just panned across the board. People are like, "No,
Yeah.
don't no more of that." And so they went back to the drawing board, and Biohazard was the first person Resident Evil game, and it's very like Texas Chainsaw styled, and so very different. And they launched it as both a standalone title, but you also had a VR mode you could play. And so I
Mhm.
actually played that entire game for the first time in VR mode, and I don't think it will ever be topped. It is by far the scariest experience I've ever had in my life. Like this is like primitive YouTube Cody, but like I had like a video where I just stuck the camera off to the side and
Yeah.
recorded me playing for the first hour,
Mhm.
and I still remember like having that headset on, and there's a section where like you basically break into this Louisiana Texas Chainsaw house to like find your wife who's been missing for years, and she sends you this little distress message. And not too long after you find her, like the lights go out and she disappears, and you end up into this section where there's nowhere else to go, but there's this big dark door and some stairs that go down into this dark basement. And I remember walking up to that basement, and it's like I felt like I could feel breath on me
Mhm.
because I was so immersed, and I was like, I don't want to fucking go down there, man. Like, is there any way I could do anything else? And I remember taking like one little step and then one little step. And then eventually you get locked into the animation where you're walking, and then this chick starts coming out of the shadows up the stairs. And I was like,
Mhm.
no. And she comes right here and gets in your face.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So and you can play even the action ones, Resident Evil 4 and Village have a VR mode that you can play. And if you have like the PlayStation controllers or whatever, man, it feels like John Wick. You could just pull out
Mhm.
all these guns, taking out all the different enemies. So you get
Mhm.
both fun sides of it. But yeah, it can be terrifying.
Yeah. And I think that's gonna be an interesting application for AI at some point, right? Is like
Hmm.
take a horror film like an Obsession, Backrooms, whatever, and say, okay, turn this into a immersive VR experience, right?
Yeah.
And you can just kind of pull in the exact scenery, the exact
Yeah.
characters, the exact scenario that you want to play out, and then experience it either just as like a fly on the wall in the scene in the room, or turn it into kind of a game, right? So I don't know if that's of interest to you guys, if you're excited or for where the technology goes in that way, or if it kind of turns you off and you want to kind of keep it in the artist's hands and make things the old fashioned way.
I mean, it depends. I think there's cool potential
Yeah.
for it. It just depends on when the technology is there. There's something appealing about like putting on The Shining and like, let me walk the hallways. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You pass by the room while Jack Nicholson's having a drink or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, it has a Ready Player Not feel to it, right?
Mhm.
But I'm also reminded of the movie Gamer with Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
But they were using humans to play like that. So I don't know. AI is a whole thing, a whole conversation.
Tell us your feelings about it, Brian.
Oh man, I just have so many friends in the space, right? We all
Yeah.
do. And to have jobs be taken away, that's really the thing I just don't want.
Mhm.
But I also feel like there needs to be a conversation on what is a tool
Hmm.
that was created before the AI bubble. And those tools need to be pulled out underneath the terminology of AI, because it's harmful, right? And we've already seen some movies that kind of got backlash because they were using tools that have been around for a while. Whether it's something that kind of just a point and click on fixing some audio for your video or whatever. And if you're calling that AI, and you're putting that in the same bubble of generative AI, it just becomes an absolute nightmare, becomes a mess. So there needs to be some lines that are just absolutely drawn,
Hmm.
and we all need to figure out which lines we want to cross, whether if we want to cross any of them at all. But yeah, so right now I'm just kind of sitting back and seeing what happens. But um, yeah, I'm not a fan. If it's taking jobs away, but yeah.
Yeah. It's even been sticky on the content creator side because, like, on YouTube, where you're making thumbnails and you're using things like
Mhm.
Premiere Pro, I mean, there's always been AI tools where you can, like, extend audio a little bit or, use some color correction, or you can have, like, a picture where, like, there's something you want removed. So you just highlight, like, remove this text, and it just kind of blends it in. And so there's always been implementations like that. But now that AI has become such, like, a rampant conversation, it's always kind of frustrating where, like, you'll put a thumbnail out and someone's like, AI slop. And it's like, do you want a video of me putting the layers together?
Yeah.
There's that
Yeah.
side of it. And there's also, like,
Hmm.
who's the victim? Like, if it's a movie and someone's losing their job, or, somebody you would have paid to do this and now you're clicking it away, like, that's one thing. If it's like a single content creator that does everything in their studio, it's just
Right.
making the thumbnail creation take 5 minutes instead of 20. Like, there's we always have overcorrections, and a lot of
Yeah.
people, I think, jump on bandwagons too, where they know AI is a big tribal thing, and so if they smell any bit of it, it's just like rage, and it's like, okay, there's a difference. Let's
Sure.
draw lines and let's define things.
Yeah, we're definitely in a an interesting timeline here with all the guilds and studios and big tech companies all kind of converging to figure out what that landscape looks like. And you see even with some of the AI related movies, right, about Sam Altman and others getting just outright dropped by Amazon. We're going to find out any day who's going to pick that up. But Amazon made a massive investment in OpenAI and said, hey, maybe it doesn't make sense to do that and put out this movie about Sam Altman getting fired from his board,
Hmm.
et cetera. So, yeah, we'll see how the industry picks up on it. But yeah, I would just like to see it first and foremost be used just to make more adaptations and more content that everybody enjoys, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, that's why I just wanted to ask the question to see what your guys' feelings were about it. So
Yeah.
Brian, I know you are our in-house guy that doesn't like the super scary stuff, which I
Yeah.
know we typically do talk about, but maybe we can spend a little bit of time talking about horror films that are not super terrifying, and
Yeah.
maybe good kind of introductory films for people that want to explore the space more but don't necessarily want to keep the lights on at night after they watch, whatever it is, The Ring. So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. When we were kind of talking about this, I was thinking, what did I watch growing up? And like I said, I was
mhm,
scarred at a certain moment, but I still would visit specific films depending on how I felt about them, or whatever. But then I also think about, now, being a dad, and raising her on film, and what movies kind of scared her a little bit, and maybe we kind of push our luck a little bit and then kind of back
Mhm.
up on getting too far, and so she doesn't go through what I went through. But so a mix of that is I watched every Halloween the
Mhm.
Saw movies,
Mhm.
and they are brutal in certain moments for sure, but I would say if you get scared easily, and like if people getting hurt or whatever is like doesn't bother you, but if you get scared easily, like Saul's an easy watch. There's really like
Mm.
maybe there's like one or two moments where something kind of comes out of nowhere. There's a great moment in the first film where flash is being used to reveal where this person is looking, and then of course one of the flashes reveals the guy in the pig outfit. So there's definitely some kind of moments that kind of help build that fear a little bit. But I see Saw as puzzle films and mysteries to be solved with a
Right.
couple of them just having great plot twists that are just like really entertaining. And so for whatever reason, even though I'd put off the genre, every Halloween I did go see the Saws, and
Mhm.
and had some fun for sure. But then I think about, my daughter, like I said, and a movie that scared her that I think is just good gateway for the kids is Coraline. That's a
Mm.
pretty terrifying movie in one particular moment in the third act. I think that's some good gateway horror, as well as like E.T., where
Mhm.
it's, we would probably look at it now and just be like, that's not a horror film. But if you kind of look at it through the eyes of a kid, especially when we're about to meet ET for the first time, it's a little terrifying,
Mhm.
for sure. I can see that being quite scary. Now, thankfully, ET is a lovable character, and we get to hang out with him for a bit afterward. But yeah, there's definitely moments in those kind of childhood films where you're like, whoa, that's insane.
Mm.
Including Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which is not a horror film at all, but that kid catcher is one of the scariest characters of the era. And
Mhm.
it's Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, like it's a fun little film. And then you get this kid catcher he's got a huge net, and he's out here just like trying to catch kids, and that's scary. So I like
Mhm.
I like those I like those like kind of being like kind of the gateway into things. And then the one that I think really kind of got me into, maybe I should look more into this, are the Scream films as well.
Mhm.
I used to be a teacher, and I had a student come up to me, and he was like, I think you would like these, because he knew how much I love movies. And um, sure enough, man, I blew through those four films back then, when there was four. And I was like, this is great. I love this. It's really not that scary. There might be a couple of jump scares here and there, but it's just entertaining. It's meta as all get out, and I'm having a blast. So I think all of that, and then I would say sci-fi is a great kind of gateway
Mhm.
into the genre, into the horror genre, because science fiction is involved, and so it's not full on horror like I mean, Alien is, I think, the first film, but you get the sci-fi element to it. So I think there's a difference between like, okay, this is fiction, whereas
Mhm.
ghosts and spirits, depending on your beliefs and how you were raised, that could probably get to you a little bit more than like an Alien, for instance. So I think that's just kind of
Sure.
like my outlook as I grew into the genre.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that's some good stuff there.
Alright. So I'll go next. I would say, and I say this too because I've been showing a lot of my kids, horror adjacent things. My wife hates when I'm actually showing them like a Pennywise clip or anything, even if it's just a trailer or something. But my kids love Halloween, as most kids do, and so they love like the Hocus Pocus movies.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'd consider that horror, but it starts to get into darker themes and
yeah,
witches and okay, what's this, what's that, why are they dressed this way, what's a magic spell, that kind of thing. But I've even like caught myself wondering, okay, can I even show them like Goonies? Because for me as a kid, like the guy in the basement, right, who ends up, befriending the boys, right? But he's basically locked in the basement and he's very mysterious. He's super powerful. Like that guy scared the shit out of me
Yeah.
when I was a kid. And I would close my eyes, just power through that scene and then get through the rest of the movie, where he becomes like a good guy. And it's like as soon as I'm ready to embark my kids into that kind of stuff, my 5-year-old's like, "Oh, can you do Despicable Me 3? Because the villain in the first one kind of scares me in these
Mm,
parts." I'm like, "What do you mean, buddy?"
yeah.
So it's like even these animated, films, some of these parts are still kind of scary depending on maturity level and whatnot. So, Cody, what are your thoughts?
What's really funny is for the longest time, I would have been the worst possible person to ask this question to because I was one of
Mhm,
those weird kids that nothing scared me. My
mhm,
dad introduced me to Chucky and Freddy and all that when I was 4.
mhm.
And I usually say this to make the point. I used to watch Freddy before bed. So,
Oh
like, I don't
man.
know how twisted you could be
That's
to, like, just completely buck the trend of kids having nightmares about horror films. So, for the longest time, nothing really scared me. Eventually, I did get nightmares from Zelda from Pet Cemetery and Tim
mm,
Curry's Pennywise.
yeah.
Mhm,
Oddly enough, both Stephen King characters. So, eventually, some did get to me. But for the most part, it was always, like, thrilling to me and fun. And I would even like torture my cousin who was like 6 months younger than me, but like was more the stereotypical scared kid. So I'd put on something like, Trick or Treat, like a 1986 metal horror movie, and he's scared. And I'm like, "Oh, being a pussy." So
Yeah.
it was just,
That's
it
funny.
was not something that I was really ever cognizant of
mhm,
until I met my wife. Because our son was 7 years old at the time. She had 2 kids when I met her, and he basically, when I was kind of coming into the situation, they kept telling me like, "Oh, he's scared. He can't watch stuff like this," and I was always like, "That sounds like a challenge. I don't know if he's quite that scared, or you guys just convincing him that he is." And so that's when I really started to kind of figure out like what movies to teach or to show certain kids. And what's even more interesting is every kid is different. So
yep,
like I have 3 different kids. My oldest was very timid and I had to really like slowly kind of, get him into everything like that. My middle daughter was very like enthralled with it, thought it was fun. And then my
Mhm.
younger daughter, she walked into the room when she was 5 when I was watching Scream, kind of prepping for Scream 5's release. And then she was just like hooked right away. But
mhm,
certain things will kind of get to her.
right,
So really it's about like whether it's kids or even just adults that are new, everybody's kind of scared with different things. Some people think that Chucky's ridiculous. Some people think Chucky's terrifying.
mhm,
But what I always found was the best way to do it was to kind of for like gateway horror films was to find the more fun movies.
yep,
So movies like, Poltergeist or The Gate, where there's creepy moments, but there's like that sense of fun. There's that kid energy there. You could even move into something like Fright Night, which was one of the first movies.
mhm.
Like when my wife was out of town, I was like, all right, we're going to see how scared this kid is. So I put on Fright Night, and my trick was anytime something creepy or intense was coming up, I would like crack a joke about it. So I would like take the
Mhm,
tension
Yeah,
out of the
sure.
air, and he
Yeah.
would
yeah,
just he loved it. Gremlins, of course, or Critters,
mhm,
depending on which one of those you like. I'm not really a Critters guy, but little creatures. Arachnophobia was always a good one. Even movies like you brought up Hocus Pocus,
mhm,
the Disney brand of like horror adjacent. There was a few of those where like Hocus Pocus is more fun, but has, children being devoured. You got movies like The
Yeah.
Witches based on the Roald Dahl
Yeah.
book where the unmasking scene is actually pretty intense for kids
mhm,
stuff. Willy Wonka, a lot of people say the boat scene was like something that
Yeah.
terrified them. So
mhm.
it's interesting to find out certain sequences that'll terrify people that aren't overtly horror.
Right.
Um, yeah, so I always find the fun route. Killer Clowns,
All
Army of
right.
Darkness, things like that. That always tends to be the good gateway from my experience. And then you can kind of ramp them up. Be like, all right, let's watch
Mhm.
Halloween. Let's watch Nightmare on
Yeah.
Elm Street.
Right. So question for you guys. What do you think about a lot of the M. Night Shyamalan films, right? Because those are kind of like bedtime stories, if you really
Mhm.
break it down at an aggregate level. Like is Sixth Sense, really that scary? Is even Signs, is creepy, but is that something that's gonna scare somebody? So I mean, Brian, what are your thoughts on all the M. Night films, putting aside The Happening, which is obviously the most terrifying of them all for
Right.
different reasons?
Um, yeah, well, I've said this before. I am the biggest Shyamalan fan on TikTok. So
Mhm.
I will die on the hill of Shyamalan, but of course I am fully aware that most of his movies are B movies. and I think he's doing that on purpose, and that's my excuse at least. But I do remember seeing Sixth Sense for the first time. It wasn't in theaters, but I still remember pausing it and walking into the living room and like telling my dad like I'm too scared. And he was like, just turn it
Okay.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a kid. I'm 13, I think.
Okay.
And 12 or 13. And my dad said, just turn it off. And I was like,
Yeah.
nah, I'm going to keep going. And I finished it, but I did. I still remember like pausing and walking in there and telling him, I think I need to stop. And then I don't know why, but I kept going.
Hmm.
So I still remember that. I still remember seeing Signs in theaters with my dad. And because I just become like what I tell everyone is Unbreakable is the reason I got into filmmaking.
Hmm.
And so because of that, I became a huge Shyamalan fan. And so yeah, we went to go see Signs. And again, this is during the time of me kind of putting off the genre, but there's just something special about those early Shyamalan films and Signs especially. And of course, I think the scariest, there's a like a scary moment in the cornfield, but I think the scariest moment is still the hand coming underneath the door
Hmm.
and kind of like clawing or whatever. There's the reveal where Joaquin Phoenix sees it on the TV in the news. I don't think that really like frightened me more than just like we were all excited because
Hmm.
holy cow, we finally get to see the full bodied thing, even though it was still on TV. But
Yeah.
I remember being absolutely scared of the hands coming out of the claw, and then Mel Gibson like cuts the fingers.
Hmm.
Um, and then The Village, I don't remember being like super scared, but that's definitely The Village and Lady in the Water's absolutely his bedtime stories.
Yeah.
For sure. And things don't really get scary, I guess, until The Visit. And I'm still thinking about the grandma underneath the porch. That was
Yeah.
pretty frightening for sure. But yeah, no, I definitely still have that Sixth Sense memory of having to stop and then get back to it.
All right. Cody, any thoughts on M Night?
Yeah, I mean, I think those two films specifically, Sixth Sense and
Hmm.
Signs, have some great scares in them. You know, the movies as a whole are not movies that I would like. They're movies that I can understand people debating, like, is it horror, is it thriller, is it psychological? But like the Sixth Sense, I mean, there's a couple different sequences where Haley Joel Osment, where he goes to the bathroom and all of a sudden he starts to see his breath and thinks that's his mom in the kitchen and it's a ghost, and the scene where he runs into his little red tent and the seams start to pop open. I mean, there's some intense stuff in that movie. And I would say even more so in Signs. I love Signs. That was the first film I ever saw 3 times in theaters.
Mm.
And there's a couple of different spots. I thought the first time you see the alien on the roof, Derek Mears was pretty awesome. It's like, ooh. And, Mel Gibson's response kind of sells it. I think that one of the creepier scenes too is when he's out in the cornfields at night and it's all the sound design is all just wind. And then
Hmm.
the flashlight goes out and he's hitting it. And then all of a sudden you see the leg kind of dip in and he takes off. Like that's really creepy. And so, yeah, Signs, I think probably gave me more jumps, more scares than Sixth Sense, but they both have a couple of all-timer moments in them.
Yeah, the furnace in the basement. Come on, like that's the
Yeah, that
big
one. Yeah.
jump scare in
Yeah.
the in that one. But
Yeah.
yeah, and by the way, the inverse is like you pick a movie and you're like, oh, this isn't going to be bad at all. Jeepers Creepers, whatever. This was silly, and then you go, you're like, oh my god,
Yeah.
this thing is just relentless. So,
That was one of
Brian,
the best blind movie experiences of
Yeah.
my life. I think that was the Halloween after 9/11. So this was the one year where, like, because of that, the anthrax and everything, they were like, we're not trick or treating. And so, what are we
Mhm.
going to do then? Just go to the Blockbuster. We're going to pick a couple of scary movies. All right, cool. And I remember Jeepers Creepers was just like, the cover looks cool, which is how you used to,
Mhm.
pick movies back in the day, was like whatever one had the
Oh
cooler
yeah.
cover. And so you put that movie on and man, yeah, just like never knowing where it's going to go. Starts off like a little like duel where you got like this
Yeah.
crazy truck driver. And then all of a sudden it's like, is this a serial killer movie? And then you got the bodies in the ceiling. What the hell is this? And then the monster creature feature stuff. So it's a movie that unfortunately you can't discuss too much online for obvious reasons, but
Right.
it's just the movie itself. Speaking about the art, that's one of my all-time favorite horror films. I love it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. Brian, any selections that you thought weren't going to be scary, and then you had to pause and go out to the living room?
Oh, wow. Dang. That I didn't think were gonna be scary.
While
Man,
you
I'll
think, I
yeah,
have kind of
yeah,
a
yeah.
creepy story. So, like, there was a movie that came out a couple of years ago called The Dark and the Wicked, and I
Mhm,
didn't really know much about it. Just somebody sent me the Blu-ray. Like, they were just like, "Watch this." Dot dot smiley, and I'm like, "Okay." And
mhm,
so, what made it eerie? This is a film where it's about this mother dies with these weird circumstances, and the kids come back to kind of take care of the estate, and things happen. It's a very creepy psychological movie. But in the middle of the film, when it was really kind of nail biting, my wife got a phone call that her grandfather died. And so it
mhm,
like the circumstance of that phone call and her emotions afterwards kind of made the movie like 10 times more gripping than it should have been. And
mhm,
so I don't know, it was just a very weird way of like things aligning, but that was one where I put it on like, okay, it should be cool. And then just by the end of
mhm.
it, it was like, let's watch a Disney movie before we go to bed.
Right, right.
Sheesh.
All right.
I remembered, this was me. I was trying in college to get into horror. I really
Mhm,
was. And I still so I would this is back in the day, and I would, find movies where I didn't have to pay for them.
mhm.
And because I was a poor college kid, and so I downloaded quite a bit of movies, I'll be honest. And
Mhm,
one of
A
them
buddy
was
of
The
mine calls that I
Eye.
got it from my uncle.
Yeah, that's true.
mhm,
Got it from my uncle on the open seas. And so I downloaded The Eye with Jessica Alba.
mhm,
And it's she gets eye replacement surgery or something like that. So, because she was blind and now she can see, but these eyes are cursed. And I still remember there's a moment where she's just sitting in a coffee shop and she looks over, and it is not a build up type of jump scare. It is just straight up. She looks over and there is like a dead person looking at her, and there's this real loud sound. I stand up, throw my headphones on, and I've yet to finish the movie to this day.
mm.
It got me. And I was like, nope,
Yeah,
screw that. Like, here I am trying and thinking that I'm watching something that I don't think was going to be. And again, like, jump scares, unfortunately, they just get me. And so yeah, still haven't finished that movie. And then another movie I watched was, this is when I'm getting into movies that are like not kind of the mainstream. So I was starting to get out and see more film and cinema, and then stuff that is just bizarre and weird. And I was watching this movie. I'm pretty sure it's Larry Clark. It's a movie called Bully, and
mhm,
it's based on a true story where these friends kill their friend, basically. And it's a fictional film, but it is a movie that it upset me so much because of how real it felt.
mhm.
And this is the guy that directed Kids, written by Harmony Korine. And it's a movie that I thought I was just watching, like, cool, fun, like, kind of kids drama.
Yeah,
And it's a movie that, it's not even a horror film. It's just, it feels so real when the
yeah,
act actually happens, that even though they put out a nice copy, I think Umbrella has a copy. I refuse to buy it, just because I don't need it. I don't need to see it again. And it's really not graphic either. It's just, it feels so real that it kind of messed with me for sure. So yeah,
mm.
I think that's pretty good example for sure.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of, intense horror films, and if you don't if you go in blind, sometimes it can certainly affect you. You gotta be in a certain mindset for sure, and I'm that
Yeah.
way with Terrifier and a lot of the super gory things. I
Mm.
gotta be in a very specific mood to be able to take that in, but yeah, I think we'll go ahead and wrap there for the day. We'll give Brian some time to go finish the eye, and and we'll be together again soon, talking more horror films. So thank you again for joining us for today's session. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let us know in the comments below if there's any topics that you want us to discuss. So thank you guys for joining, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.